Hello, teacher.
Hello, Daniel. How are you? Is everything okay?
Everything good? Thanks for asking.
Great. That's great to know, Daniel. So we can keep working. If you remember, we were taking a look at this video, learning about muscles, how they work, right, and a little bit about it in general. So before going on, Daniel, what do you remember about this video?
Okay, remember that we saw a video about uh, the muscles and how they work in our body, how the brain interacts with every or each muscle in our body. What else? Yeah, the strength that we made for the different strength that we put in some different situations. Um, what else? Yeah, that's what I remember.
All right, very good. Yes, I think it was the introduction and the example with the door in which we saw everything that you mentioned, right? So it's very good. Let's continue from that part, please. From this part on, they are going to start talking about the details about what happens to the muscles in general, all right? And again, there's going to be a microscopic perspective and also some other details. So here we go.
Other muscles to meet the demand. While all this is happening, your muscle fibers undergo another kind of cellular change. As you expose them to stress, they experience microscopic damage, which in this context is a good thing. In response, the injured cells release inflammatory molecules called cytokines that activate the immune system to repair the injury. This is when the muscle building magic happens. The greater the damage to the muscle tissue, the more your body will need to repair itself. The resulting cycle of damage and repair eventually makes muscles bigger and stronger as they adapt to progressively greater demands.
All right, so before keep going, let's try to talk about that. That's an interesting explanation of what happens, right, at a microscopic level. So, what can you tell me about it, Daniel?
Okay, show us how the muscles grow. Uh, for example, when we lift something heavy, uh, it depends at which muscles are we using, but it's something like the muscles got or get broken by but mm, in a little uh, way, or I don't know how can I say that, but mm, yeah, it get broke it yeah, the muscles get broken, and uh, thanks to our immune 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 system, it got repaired, and that's the moment when we gain muscles or gain strength.
All right, thank you very much, Daniel. Yes, and we're going to see that vocabulary, right? I'm going to show you now some of the captions, and we're going to see instead of yes, it's like broken, right? But you can say only damage, right? And if you want to say a little, again, you can use the word I was using. It's damage at a microscopic level, right? You can say that one. It's damage at a microscopic level, and right, there's going to be some elements and components that are going to repair that damage. And that, right, that circle, let's say, and that cycle of damaging and repairing the muscle, again, at a microscopic level, is going to create, right, and it's going to grow the muscle. But let's take a look again at some of those words that can be interesting learning. So, from the very beginning, some of these ideas over here. So this is first interesting, all right? It says muscles, fibers. And you're talking about in a cellular, all right, microscopical level or a cellular level, and it changes, right? When you expose them to stress, as you were saying, right? When you do exercise, they are going to experience, right? And as I was telling you, this is the word that they use, a microscopic damage, All right, they are going to experience a microscopic damage, and that's positive, right, in the sense of growing the muscles. So first, microscopic damage, let's take that into account, right? So it's a good thing in this context. Then, this is the second interesting part. We're talking about inflammatory molecules, right? Inflammatory molecules. These are cells that are going to repair. And these are called, we're going to listen to that.
The injured cells release inflammatory molecules called cytokines.
Okay, the cytokines. And these are going to be in charge of repairing the microscopic damage, right? And again, they call it again injury, right? So instead of using a broken, it's better if we talk about damage or injury at this level, the microscopic level. Then over here, the magic happens, they say, yes, the greater the damage, right, to this tissue, the consequence is going to be that the more your body will need to repair itself, and you're going to be expanding the size of your muscles. Right, so with that idea, please, Daniel, again, your explanation covered everything, but let's try to use these words now. How can you explain it again using these words that we just saw?
Okay, in this part of the video, it shows us how when we put some stress in our muscles, they suffer some kind of microscopic damage. At that moment, there is something called cytocosis. Um, it is like uh, that is the name when uh, when our microscopic damage gets repaired.
All right, very good. In that one, instead of the name, just to complete that one because it's good, remember that cytokines, that's going to be the name, the cytokines is like the name that these cells have, right? So you can say, and in that moment, cells called cytokines are going to repair, right, that damage, and it's going to be like a cycle that it's going to go on until you grow your muscle. But that's it. I want to know if you have any questions before going to the next part, Danny. Let me know, please.
Not really, teacher.
All right, let's go. Let's keep going, please, and let's go to the next part that is over here.
Bigger and stronger as they adapt to progressively greater demands. Since our bodies have already adapted to most everyday activities, those generally don't produce enough stress to stimulate new muscle growth. So to build new muscle, a process called hypertrophy, our cells need to be exposed to higher workloads than they are used to. In fact, if you don't continuously expose your muscles to some resistance, they will shrink, a process known as muscular atrophy. In contrast, exposing the muscle to a high degree of tension, especially while the muscle is lengthening, also called an eccentric contraction, generates effective conditions for new growth. However, muscles rely on more than just activity to grow. Without proper nutrition, hormones, and rest, your body would never be able to repair damaged muscle fibers.
All right, up to that part, because most of this part, right, is mentioning one thing, but at the end, they are also mentioning very interesting elements, right, to link this idea. So what can you tell me about this one then?
Well, it shows us how the muscles get bigger while we are putting some stress on the muscles. It shows us how the muscles can shrink if we don't continue that process. I mean, uh, lifting more heavy or something like that. Yeah, and in the last part it shows us if we want to keep growing, or if someone wants to keep growing, they need to continue lifting more heavy things or objects.
Okay, good. We are good so far. Now, in the last part, they mentioned some other elements. And remember, only one thing over there because I think it's very good. Instead of more heavy, remember it's better if you say heavy, right? So
Heavy.
you can say the body needs to be exposed to heavier objects, right? If we want to keep them growing. But of course, if you don't expose them, right? If you don't expose them to heavier objects or heavier elements, they are going to be with this called atrophy, right? They are going to perhaps not grow, or they are going to say, as you said very well, shrink, right? But what are other elements? And you mentioned this one yesterday, Daniel. What are some other elements that are important if we want our muscles to grow?
Mm, yeah, the most important thing is the healthy food that we eat. Yeah, this is the most important. Without a proper diet, we can't continue growing.
Okay, very good. To just to like complement that one, we're going to take a look at the last part. And yes, you're right. And we're going to add some other elements like these ones. Let's pay attention to this last part.
However, muscles rely on more than just activity to grow. Without proper nutrition,
Okay, so here they are mentioning some things that are interesting, right? Proper nutrition, hormones, and rest. Also, this is very, very important, right? Rest.
hormones, and rest, your body would never be able to repair damaged muscle fibers.
Okay, so again, according to this video, then there are three main elements as well. It's going to be nutrition, right? Hormones and rest, right? That's going to be important for the muscle growth. But let's keep going to finish. We have these 2 minutes. We're going to go to the last part, Daniel, please, and we finish with this video.
Protein in our diet preserves muscle mass by providing the building blocks for new tissue in the form of amino acids. Adequate protein intake, along with naturally occurring hormones like insulin-like growth factor and testosterone, help shift the body into a state where tissue is repaired and grown. This vital repair process mainly occurs when we're resting, especially at night while sleeping. Gender and age affect this repair mechanism, which is why young men with more testosterone have a leg up in the muscle building game. Genetic factors also play a role in one's ability to grow muscle. Some people have more robust immune reactions to muscle damage and are better able to repair and replace damaged muscle fibers, increasing their muscle building potential. The body responds to the demands you place on it. If you tear your muscles up, eat right, rest, and repeat, you'll create the conditions to make your muscles as big and strong as possible. It is with muscles as it is with life. Meaningful growth requires challenge and stress.
All right, and that's it, right? Again, they are mentioning things that you already told me, but it's interesting to get some of let's say vocabulary in general to apply it and make it even more complex. So to finish today, Daniel, what can you tell me about this last part of the video?
Okay. An important thing to continue growing the muscles is, as we saw, rest properly, and also to help the process, we can consume amino acids, proteins, and another kind of chemicals. And then it shows us how the testosterone uh, it's important while we are growing in our life. I mean, uh, young uh, young people are has different testosterone or different properties in their body than older people. And then yeah, it show us yeah, the habit that you have to follow to continue growing. It's related to the life also, because you have to be consistent. You have to pass stress, um, and the results will will be will be uh, I don't know how can I say this, but you will see the results after follow a good habit with all of this.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Daniel. Again, we're finishing with this one. And again, my invitation is, as always, to try to take a look at these words one more time. Because, again, even though we know about this one, it's really interesting to add, for example, insulin like growth factor, right? And you mentioned this one very good, the testosterone. And we have other factors. You were talking about that one as well, right? Younger people are going to have perhaps more noticeable results than older people because of the level of testosterone, or you were saying, right? The properties that they have in their bodies. And we can use the word tissues, and we can use the protein diet, preserves muscle mass. That's a really interesting idea to use over there. Protein intake. This is interesting, right? Adequate protein intake. It means how much protein you consume, right? Along with natural occurring hormones. So the combination of those elements is going to have a better result. And then you gave the best conclusion possible, right? As they mentioned, is like in life. But that's it. I don't know if you have any questions or comments before finishing today, Daniel. Let me know, please.
No, teacher, it was a lot of new vocabulary for me.
Great. That's good again, right? It's very good when we can add some vocabulary to keep growing in that way. So, Daniel, please, I'm going to ask you to, as always, answer the questions for the survey, and that's it. Thanks for being here. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Good teacher. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye bye. Hello, Paola. How are you? Is everything okay?
Hello, teacher. Yes.
Great, that's good to know, Paula. So we're going to keep working on this video. Remember, we're learning about muscles a little bit. But before continuing with this, let's try to summarize what we learned, all right, the last conversation, Paula. So what do you remember about this video from the last class?
Okay. I remember that we have more than 600 muscles. You need to do exercise to grow your muscles, and because if you are all the time sit and don't do nothing, they are not going to grow. I think this.
Very good. Thank you very much, Paula. And again, it's great. All right. Anything you remember is very good. And everything you told me is correct. Okay. I only have one correction because everything was perfect, except for this one. When you use a negative idea with nothing or anything, you have to decide, right? If you're going to give a negative idea with not, then don't use nothing, right? For example, instead of I don't do, right? I don't do nothing. It should be I don't do anything, right? Or it has to be affirmative, right?
Okay.
Okay, so it's going to be if you don't do anything, right? Or the other option is if you do nothing, right? If you do nothing or if you don't do anything. There you go. Now, good. And also they showed us one example, right? One wood made door was very, let's say light, and he was able to open that one with one arm. But when they changed this wood made door to an iron made door, right? And iron is, let's say, a heavier material. It was harder to open the door, so he needed to use more muscles, right? Not only the arm, but also the back, the legs, the belly, right? And the combination of using those muscles, right, or his body in general, made possible, right, to open this heavier door, right? So we're going to continue from that part. Here we go.
Already have other muscles to meet the demand. While all this is happening, your muscle fibers undergo another kind of cellular change. As you expose them to stress, they experience microscopic damage, which in this context is a good thing. In response, the injured cells release inflammatory molecules called cytokines that activate the immune system to repair the injury. This is when the muscle building magic happens. The greater the damage to the muscle tissue, the more your body will need to repair itself. The resulting cycle of damage and repair eventually makes muscles bigger and stronger.
Okay, up to that part, that's the second part. What can you tell me about this one, Paola? How can you explain what happens, all right, at a microscopic level to make the muscles grow?
Okay. In the muscle fibers, when they are exposed to stress, you have to you have a damage, microscopic damage. So you need you have insure cells, so you need to repair this to muscles to well, in this case, when they repair the injury, the muscles will going to, in some cases, the muscles will going to build.
Good. Only one thing at the end, because I think you explained everything very good. And be careful if you say, right, will going to. It's better if you choose only one, right? It's better if you say the muscles will grow or the muscles are going to grow, right? Because if you say will going to, it's going to be not that correct. And also build. When you say build, what do you mean? What do you mean when you say this one, Paola? The muscles will build.
They grow. They grow more.
All right. All right. So instead of that one, or perhaps if you're talking about the damage, you can use passive voice, right? And you can say the muscles will rebuild themselves, right? To rebuild themselves, to repair themselves, or directly you can say that one, right? That they will grow even more, right? You can say they will grow even more. After that idea, I think that's it. All right, I think that's it. But I have a question. Do you remember what's the name of the cells that repair the muscles, the tissue that is damaged?
Cytokinase, something like that.
Okay, it's close to that one. I'm going to show you. So let's try to pronounce that one together. All right, I'm going to show you over here. It's over here. Okay, so this one, how do you read this one?
Cytokinase?
This Y is I and this I is I. So if both are I's, how do you read them?
Cytokinase?
Cytokines, right? Remember that the last E is kind of muted, right? You don't read the E's in English, so it's going to be only cytokines. Right, cytokines. Okay, good. So these are the inflammatory, right, molecules that are going to repair the tissue, right, the muscle damaged tissue. Very good. Now, just to practice here, and in order to learn this vocabulary, Paola, we're going to use some of these words in different examples. For example, how can you use microscopic in one example, Paola? Because it was correct, right? You were saying damage microscopic, but it's better to say, right, microscopic damage. So it means that microscopic is describing, is an adjective. In that way, how can you use it in a different example?
Maybe we can see what happened in the cells if you use a microscopic.
But in that one, if you want to use that word, then Paola, it wouldn't be microscopic because microscopic is an adjective. There you should use microscope, right? A microscope. So yes, you can use a microscope. But look, to make this easier, look, you can do this, Paola. You can say, you can use a microscope to see microscopic elements. Okay, so microscopic, as is an adjective, you need something that describes, okay, or to describe. So microscopic elements, microscopic cells, microscopic, here, for example, damage, microscopic process, all right? Anything can be described by microscopic if you need a microscope to see that one. Okay, so let's remember that one, microscopic. But let's go to a different one. Here, for example, this word. Let me know first if you understand. What's the meaning of release? What is to release something?
I'm not sure.
Okay, let's learn. Again, this is to learn, right? So in context is clear, but you release something when you make it free. in a certain way. Or for example, right, you can say your body, Paola, right, releases some hormones or some cells. All right, my body also releases. Okay, so it means that it's producing or it's making something free. All right, another example, Paola, if you have a tiger, right, or a lion in a cage, inside a cage, you can release the tiger if you open the cage, all right, and you release the animal. Okay, so that's to release, to make something free or to produce something. So if that's the case, Paola, how can you use release in one example? And in this case, it is a verb, right? So you can say, I release, you release, or it can be in past, I released, you released, or you can use it with any other subject.
Okay. The zoo decide to release all the animals in Africa.
Okay, good, very good, right? Instead of decide, it's better if you use past, so you can say the zoo decided to, right? Decided to, because if you say the zoo decide, and if it's present, you have two options, right? You can use the third person, the zoo decides, or I think it's better if it's past, the zoo decided, right? Decided to release all animals in Africa. Very good. Okay, so to make free or to produce. Again, right? You can say, my body releases hormones when I'm scared, when I'm excited. My body releases these chemicals when I'm happy, when I'm sad, right? So that's to release. I don't know if you have any questions about the word, Paola.
No.
All right, good. So those were interesting words, but let's keep going. All right, we're going to watch only one more part to finish today. Let's start here.
Stronger as they adapt to progressively greater demands. Since our bodies have already adapted to most everyday activities, those generally don't produce enough stress to stimulate new muscle growth. So to build new muscle, a process called hypertrophy, our cells need to be exposed to higher workloads than they are used to. In fact, if you don't continuously expose your muscles to some resistance, they will shrink, a process known as muscular atrophy. In contrast, exposing the muscle to a high degree of tension, especially while the muscle is lengthening, also called an eccentric contraction, generates effective conditions for new growth. However, muscles rely on more than just activity to grow. Without proper nutrition, hormones, and rest, your body would never be able to repair damaged muscle fibers.
All right, up to that part to finish today. What can you tell me about this one, Paola, in general?
Okay. The muscles adapt progressively to grow, to build a new muscle is called hypertrophy. But if you don't do if you don't do exercise continuously, you're going to lose the muscles, and you will be shrink. I don't know how to pronounce this word. So to grow the muscles, you need to have a good nutrition, and you need to rest.
Okay, good. So let's take a look at that information. Again, to use that one, that word you wanted to use, it's going to be shrink. Okay, let's repeat, please. That one, shrink.
Shrink.
And the end in the middle, shrink, shrink.
Shrink.
Shrink. Good. So to shrink is to reduce in size, right?
Yeah.
Shrink is the opposite of grow. So good. So it means that you need to lift heavier objects, right? If you lift the same objects every day, your muscles are not going to grow. So what is that process called, Paula? You mentioned at the beginning hypertrophy, but what about the opposite? How is it called when you don't lift heavier objects and your muscle shrinks? What is that called in science?
Atrophy?
Okay, good, exactly, right? And it has muscular atrophy,
Yeah.
right? And it is going to shrink. Very good. I think that's it because of the time we're going to be stopping here, Paola, but I don't know if you have any questions about these words that we covered today. Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
No? All right. And again, we're going to try to work with different elements, Paola. Now we work with videos. Next week, it's going to be with articles. All right. We're going to try to mix it up. And again, the idea is more than putting some pressure, right? You don't have to understand everything. All right. But the idea is only to try to understand as much as you can, and then you can explain that. All right. That's useful when you want to practice and to develop your listening. It is very important. Okay, so let's finish here, please, Paola. Down below, you can find the poll, as always, next to chat. Let's answer those questions, please, and we can leave today. All right, let me know when you do it, please.
Okay. Teacher, I have a question.
Yes, tell me, Paola.
It's about the in the page that we need to do some exercise.
Yes, yes, tell me, what's happening there? This one over here.
Yes, in the section that you have speaking, I don't understand the order. They say you're going to request help from Amy. First, listen to Amy and read the task.
Okay.
So
let me see.
I need to when you need to grabar.
You have to record?
To record, I need to request an answer or only request. That I really don't understand.
Look here, actually, this is very simple, Paula, to finish. This is the exercise, right? If you look at here, this is the exercise, right? It says, and now you and Amy are going to get requited. First, listen to Amy and blah, 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 right? This is the exercise. So let's listen.
Say, Alex, could you check some background information for the Nick Crawford story?
Okay, so your task is to, for example, respond to Talia's request by delaying. Here you have a model conversation, and this is a possible answer.
Say, Alex,
okay,
could you check some background information for the Nick Crawford story?
Well, actually, I'm really busy right now.
Okay, so that answer is something that you can imitate, Paula, and you can only record yourself repeating that one. Okay, you can say, well, actually, I'm kind of busy right now. Okay, so the only idea here, Paola, is that you can repeat and memorize some of those phrases, some of those sentences, so that you know how you are going to respond to a situation like that. Okay, so this is only what they are saying, and here you have in the last part the model, and your only job here is to imitate the model, or you can give a similar response, but that it's related to what that person is saying.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Okay, that's the only thing. You're welcome, Paola. Then that's going to be it for today. Thanks for being here. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, teacher. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. All right, and now with you once again, Wilson. How are you, Wilson? Is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, teacher. Thank you for asking.
Great, that's great to know, Wilson. So let's keep working together. With you, we were learning and we were reading this article, if I'm not wrong, right? Why mood shame is bad for you. And we got to see up to the first paragraph, right?
Yeah.
This one over here. Good. And you told me, right, that usually, and of course, this is something that people do. How do you respond to those situations is by getting sad, angry, or in other words, you have negative emotions, right? As they call them. But they are not negative, they are just emotions that you have, right? To be sad, to be angry, to be upset, to be mad, to feel down, right? To be blue. So those are like responses, natural responses. But let's keep reading, please, to see what the article is going to tell us about that, Wilson. And to do that, we're going to read these two ideas over here.
Okay. You might try to tell yourself that it doesn't matter and not to tell it gets to you. You might try to avoid thinking about the bad news, and when it does seep into your consciousness, you'll question why your soul thinks skint. This tendency to screen out and self-punish could be described as mood shame, the belief that having bad feelings is a personal failing.
Great, thank you very much, Will. So now, before taking a look at these words, okay, before doing that, and
Yeah.
before perhaps we forget, what can you tell me about these ideas? Try to tell me everything in order, all right, to see what you understand up to this part. How can you explain this in your own words?
The words or
No, before the words, only the general idea of the two paragraphs.
Okay. First, the paragraph says that I could try to avoid to I don't know a synonym avoid that bad feelings. If I am angry, just don't think about it. Forget it. And that's the first part that I understand. And the second, and I don't understand what's screen out.
Good. Thank you very much, Wilson. We're going to get to that part then, all right? I think the first part was very good, but let's see then these elements, right? So in other words, they are telling you, good, you try, of course, right? You don't want to feel sad. You don't want to feel angry. So you try to avoid, right, remembering that situation. You want to try to avoid feeling, right, what you are feeling. But even if you try, it's going to happen, right? You are going to feel it. You are going to sense those emotions. And you're going to try to ask yourself why you are, and I'm going to tell you then the synonym for this one, why you are so sensitive. Okay, you believe, I'm sad. Why? Why am I sad? I'm weak. I'm sensitive, right? Is that negative that I feel that one? So the idea of trying to screen out can be put aside, okay, to put something aside to eliminate something, okay, put something aside or to eliminate something. So when this tendency of, right, trying to avoid your feelings, trying to eliminate those emotions, those feelings, trying to punish yourself because you believe you are sensitive, right, that's mood shame, right? That is mood shame. And if you see here, they only give you the definition. Then mood shame is the belief, right? That belief that having bad feelings, it means to be sad or to be angry, is something bad for you. And failing, right? That's going to be one of the corrections. Failing, for example, how do you use fail as a verb? You say, I got 49 out of 100. I failed the course, right? So to
Yeah.
fail is not to achieve something that you wanted, right? Or is not achieving usual things that you do. So it's like a failure. Okay, that's something that you can use instead of failing. It's a failure. It means that you didn't achieve, that you didn't get to obtain what you wanted to obtain. All right. Now,
Yes.
I don't know if you have any questions up to this part before reading these words. Wilson, let me know, please.
And no, I think no, I don't have any question.
Okay, there you go. So this one in the middle is going to be like sh, and it's going to be consciousness. Consciousness.
Consciousness.
Very good, right? And as you can see, as I always tell you, the stress is going to be like in the first part, right? Consciousness. One more time, please.
Consciousness.
Good. Now read this one yourself first, please, Wilson. How do you read this word?
Question.
Okay, good. It's not bad. Only that T, right? The T that you're using is to Spanish, all right? The Spanish T. For example,
Yeah.
I want they, right? They. But in English, it's going to be a little bit more explosive, like t, t. So it's going to be question, like chi. Okay,
Question.
good. Let's repeat that one, please.
Question.
The question, good, right? And as
Okay.
you can see, it's not that T, it's like sh and ch, right? Sh and ch, question. It's a mixture between sh and ch. All right, good. And this one, good, this is sensitive, okay? To be sensitive because you feel something, because you have emotions, but in a radical way. But you believe that you are this, but you are not, right? So thin-skinned, thin-skinned.
Thin-skinned.
Good. This one, you know, the pronunciation was good, but remember, right? This is to put something aside, to eliminate something, not to take something into account, right? In this case, you're talking about emotions or bad news. So, screen out. Let's repeat just in case, please. Screen out.
Screen out.
Very good. We have those ones. We don't have any problems with these words. This one as well, self-punish is okay. And this one, right? You realize the pronunciation, so it's going to be a failing. Let's repeat that one, please.
Failing.
Good, very good. Now, before going to the next part, Wilson, how can you explain this idea? What is to sip into something?
Sip into.
Correct, exactly. How do you use this? Is a phrasal verb. It does sip into your consciousness. So that what is to sip into something?
In a sentence, I sip into the people, or in a concert, walking
All right.
through the people.
Okay, what's a possible walking? Okay, that could be one thing, but what's a possible meaning that, or a synonym, or a similar expression that you can use instead of sip into? In this case, it does sip into your consciousness.
In I don't know, in insights, that something is insights of the action of insight.
Okay, good.
Entering, I think.
And
It's
entering, that's great. But there's one more thing. It is correct to entering, to get inside, right? To get inside something.
get
But
inside.
in what way? What adjective also describes that one? Is it to get inside something quickly? Is it to get inside something slowly? What do you say?
Fast, or I think it's fast.
All right, in this case, but actually, sip is going to be considered as something slow. All right, why? Because little by little, imagine that this is your consciousness, all right? Your consciousness is over here. and this is what is not protecting, all right, because this is abstract, right? But to sip into means that little by little, first it was only that, then it goes there, the next one goes there, the next one goes there, and finally it gets there, right? So little by little, it's getting into your consciousness, all right? So to sip into, it's again in a very special way, right? Using small gaps is going to get into something, but in a slow way. All right, that's going to be sip into in this specific case. All right, I don't know if you have any questions about this word or any of the words over here. Let me know, please, Wilson.
No, I think it's clear.
All right, good. So to finish, we're going to read this one again. Perhaps the analysis is going to be superficial, but let's read it and let's see if there are some words that we want to know. Let's read this one, please.
Continually looking on the bright side of life might seem strong, even courageous, but if it's taken too far, we may beat ourselves up for perfectly reasonable response to events. While it's natural that we might prefer to avoid uncomfortable feelings like disappointment, worry, anger, or sadness, recent psychological research supports the idea that they serve useful purposes in our lives by learning to see that value and accept those feelings without judgment, we may enjoy better physical and mental health.
Great, thank you very much, Wilson. So to finish with this one again, we are going to pay attention to these words and we're going to repeat some of these ones as well. It's going to be this one, all right, over here to reinforce, because again, it's not that they are incorrect, but they can be better. This one over here, all right, and I think that's going to be it. Yes, and the beginning of that one. So this one, instead of E, it's going to be I. So bright, the bright side.
Okay, bright.
Okay, let's repeat, please. Bright.
Bright.
Good. What is bright? How can you explain bright, Wilson?
Well, it's I can explain a sentence. The sun is bright, or
Good.
yeah.
It is correct, right? You can say the bright or the brightness of the sun, right?
Yeah.
And yes, the bright. Good. What about this one? How do you read this one more time, Wilson?
Courageous.
All right, it's close, but the one in the middle is going to be more like A, so it's going to be courageous. Courageous.
Courageous.
Courageous. Good. Right? And again, you can use an example. How can you use this word in an example, or how can you explain it?
And I don't know what's that mean.
All right, courageous is very similar to brave. Do you know what's brave? When you are brave?
No, I don't know. Brave. Yes, Brave.
Okay. Yes,
I
if they
remember
say
the movie. Yeah.
brave, exactly. Okay, if you say, for example, I want volunteers to go to the war, right?
Yeah.
And if you volunteer yourself, you are brave. You are courageous.
Yeah.
Right? Brave, courageous. Good.
Courageous.
What about this? How do you read this one?
Uncomfortable.
All right. Here, what you're going to do, and again, it's not incorrect, but if you want to add that standard English, try to eliminate the O, okay? And the stress is going to be here. And it's going to be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Exactly. Very good. Okay. You have to forget about the O. Only uncomfortable. The second O. Right? Good.
Okay.
One more time, please, Wilson.
Uncomfortable.
Great. What about this one over here?
Purpose.
All right. As here you have plural, purpose. Okay. This was going to be more like purpose. But as this is plural, it's going to be purposes. Purposes.
Okay, purposes.
There you go, right? And how can you, because I know that we understand uncountable, right? That's basic. But what about purposes? What is a purpose, or what are purposes?
In a sentence, it would be my purpose for this year is finish that book, I think.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
And in that case, how can you replace that one? If you realize it's going to be like a reason that is going to guide you, right? A purpose is a reason that guides you, that helps you get to a certain place, right? Good. And the last one, please, Wilson. This one. How do you read this word?
Judgment.
Okay, it's good. Good, right? This U again, very similar to this one. Judge.
Yeah.
A little bit more like. Great. There you go, right? I'm not going to ask about that one, but do you have any questions before finishing today? Let me know, please,
Wilson. No, I think I understand. Yeah, it's not there. I'm not. No, I don't have any question.
Okay, very good. Again, my recommendation, Wilson, try to finish reading this article. Okay, with me, it's only up to this part. The next week, we're going to have a new article, or we're going to watch a new video. All right, so if you want, and if you can, finish reading this one. It's going to be interesting to learn new vocabulary, right? If you read articles, you always learn new vocabulary. But again, that's up to you. And if you want to make some comments next conversation about the rest of the article, you can let me know. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna finish. That's gonna be my purpose.
Great. That's great to know, because again, when you read, you learn a lot of vocabulary. That's one of the best things you can do in English, right? That's it then, Wilson. To finish, please, as always, I'm going to ask you to fill out the survey. It's down below next to chat. Answer to those questions, please, and let me know when you do it.
Yeah, done.
Great. Very good. So again, thanks for being here, Wilson. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.
Okay, have a good night, teacher. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.